Despite a few technical issues, removal of key features, and basically being Grand Theft Auto 3 with a different story, and being able to take it with you wherever you go, its free roaming gameplay made Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories the best-selling game on the PlayStation Portable, with 8 million copies. So it was no surprise that Rockstar continued their productivity on the console. One of them was another GTA title, this time traveling back to Vice City 2 years before Tommy Vercetti barely survived the ambush, with one of the characters not so lucky, now the star of the show. Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories was released worldwide for the PlayStation Portable on November 2006, and the PlayStation 2 on March 2007, the only title in the GTA series to be a PlayStation exclusive. Like Liberty City Stories, we're looking at the PS2 version, which has a few additional side missions and slightly enhanced lighting. Yeah, they're not much different. Victor Vance is a soldier currently residing in an army base in Fort Baxter, Vice City off duty.
Vic Vance reporting for duty, sir! Relax.
However, Supervisor Sergeant Jerry Martinez, a corrupt soldier and drug smuggler, at least it's clear who the villain is this time, forces Vic to manage his business.
Who are you gonna get in trouble with? I'm your superior officer, and you told me you needed the money.
But after he finds himself at the wrong place at the wrong time, thanks to Martinez, he is dishonorably discharged from the army and goes into criminal work just to survive.
Thanks. Here we go again. Have fun.
Which leads him to become one of the biggest kingpins in the city with his brother Lance.
The hell kind of choice is that?
All right, I guess we're gonna work together.
After playing Vice City recently, I thought it'd be interesting to see how a character can go from a soldier who's always hesitant and only joined the army to provide for a dysfunctional family to looking unrecognizable 2 years later.
You know, my dad, he came here from DR. We didn't have a lot of opportunities. But what else was I supposed to do?
Not only does it take the inspiration from 1980s Miami pop culture just like Vice City, but it also takes notes on the 2002 predecessor. It has a good blend of new and returning characters, and are just as entertaining as you'd expect.
Hey, bro!
Lance.
Hey!
In fact, this was the last GTA title to implement a multiple number of recognizable names, with Danny Trejo, Luis Guzman, Gary Busey, and Philip Michael Thomas all reprising their respective characters, in addition to a cameo from Phil Collins.
You stop having me killed, and I'll stop complaining about it.
Because it's set 2 years before Vice City, when Tommy Vercetti is still serving his time, don't expect a cameo from him, and like Liberty City Stories, maybe too many buildings are under construction at once. But there are plenty of moments that continue the storyline into Vice City, including Lance's supercar and partnership with Ricardo Diaz, to name a couple. With handheld spin-offs like these, what they do is add more explanation without taking away the action. It's still Grand Theft Auto Vice City as you loved and remembered, except it's on a PlayStation Portable, and unlike Liberty City Stories, there's almost no slowdown here and therefore a lot more enjoyable to play. And by almost, I mean for the first 5 hours of gameplay when you're on the first island. When you do reach the second island, the slowdown appears 10 to 20% of the time. It's mostly apparent when driving past this Ferris wheel, but overall it doesn't lag anywhere near as badly as Liberty City Stories. I haven't played the PSP version in years, so I don't know if it's worse on that console, but the least I can say is that it's tolerable on the PS2. Rockstar Leeds had a better understanding of the game engine and PSP technology by then, so it's not too surprising. From a gameplay perspective in terms of road placement, the map is exactly the same as Vice City, but because Vic Vance is a Marine at least at the beginning, this time you start on the other side of the map, and in order to unlock the next island, you need to complete the story missions. There are around 60 to complete, and for a 3D open world handheld game, on top of the other things to do which I'll get to, and without as many technical issues as LCS, what else could you ask for? However, the difficulty curve is all over the place as you'd expect, and the pay you get for these missions is absurd. This one, for example, destroy 6 antennas all over the city in a time limit, and evading a 5-star wanted level all for $300? Sure.
Will you shut up?
Now, what would happen if you take the assets feature from Vice City and the gang warfare from San Andreas and put them in a blender? You get empire building. This is how you earn your money. Like Vice City, you can purchase businesses all over Vice City. With its own side missions, the more you own, the higher the income, and it's mandatory to get your head around to progress through the story. But this time, you get to choose the type of business from size to operations. And like San Andreas, most of these businesses you need to take over from other gangs first.
And how do you suggest we do that?
You get their attention by destroying their vehicle, then after clearing out the gang members and breaking their assets, the land is available to purchase. The difficulty is based on the size of the business you're trying to take over, the gangs that run it, and every successful acquisition spawns a retaliating gang trying to kill you, so be careful. Also, the businesses themselves can be under attack and you need to defend it, or otherwise, you run the risk of paying for the damages. And by the time you own about 40% of all sites in Vice City, it happens frequently. There was one moment when I raided one of the gang's businesses successfully, but before I had a chance to buy it, one of my businesses was under attack. I defended it successfully, but the sites I took over before was purchased by another gang. I go back and was killed in the process.
I don't even know why I bother sometimes.
That, along with endless attacks and defense alerts, no matter where you are on the map, I mean really? Just made me snap. Basically, you'll never get a chance to rest.
Honesty is a very attractive quality.
It's not a bad thing, it's all part of the challenge. But I guarantee you that there will be a moment where you'll decide to just fight fire with fire instead. Because once you control every site in Vice City, you won't be bothered again. I recommend taking over and purchasing every site the moment you unlock the second island, because it'll make life easier in the long run. The businesses can also be used as safe houses. Say you have a mission that's giving you trouble, and you want to be close to the market when restarting. Having lots of businesses across Vice City is convenient. However, they don't have garages, nor can you choose which outfit to wear. But these can only be unlocked as you progress through the story. They also have optional unlockables. Like here for example, you can buy a bulletproof Sanchez. Some of the story missions unlock other things to do which are based on Vice City, including high-speed challenges and aforementioned empire building. But you also have your core checklist of hidden balloons, races, time trials, unique stunt jumps, rampage tokens, collecting cars, shooting range, golf range, and vehicle side missions. Did I mention ignoring everything I just said throughout the whole review and just doing whatever you want? The wanted system is identical to Vice City. Police send in vice squads and spike strips to stop you and are just as aggressive. There was one mission where I had to smash up someone else's car, but I unintentionally attracted a 3-star wanted level in a matter of seconds, which made it longer to beat, and it probably would have been better to just restart the mission. However, if you're busted or wasted, you always have the option to bribe the police or hospital for your weapons. It's a shame you don't get access to a rhino at the army base at the beginning. As you'd expect from a game titled Grand Theft Auto, and because I've mentioned this several times, I'll be brief. Vehicles can be driven, stolen, destroyed, and being in Vice City there are more fast cars to drive. Motorbikes and boats also return with the same control mechanics and physics as the 2002 title. Bikes wobble when braking, boats can be jumped, however it also implements the drive-by shooting mechanics from San Andreas, and guns fire bullets like a minigun. Jet skis and hovercrafts make an appearance, and like Liberty City Stories, you can import your own music on the PSP version, although you're less likely to do that because the music already provided here is fantastic. I saw comments in the LCS review that you can fly a helicopter, and that is true, but knowing that you can fly, yet the game designers are doing everything they can to stop you, makes it even more boneheaded. Fortunately, in Vice City Stories, you can fly helicopters without restrictions with plenty of missions utilizing them, which is great, even if the controls are a bit limited. But I've played GTA games for so long, they're second nature. Just note that you have to unlock the second island first before you can fly them.
You do the flying, I'll do the frying!
The shooting mechanics haven't changed much. You can lock onto enemies, taking them down in seconds, or switch to manual aim. However, like GTA titles that preceded San Andreas, there's no ability to crouch, and if you're close to a ledge, you can't shoot at all. This is also the case when enemies get too close, which also happens regularly because you spend a lot of time taking over businesses inside buildings. Never have I used a shotgun in a GTA game more than Vice City Stories. Because you have to be careful with your money thanks to the empire building, at least for the first few hours, it's harder to keep your arsenal loaded, unless you know the best locations for weapons and armor.
Abandon ship!
But there's one gameplay mechanic that was hugely lacking in LCS but returns in VCS: swimming. And the game makes that fact perfectly clear on the first story mission, as if to say, wait, before you ignore the missions and rampage, just note that water doesn't equal instant death. Besides, the idea of a soldier who can't swim is insane. You can't dive underwater, and you have a stamina bar so you can't swim forever, but anything's better than this. Honestly, Vice City Stories feels like Vice City, but with a few extra tweaks taken from San Andreas, which feels like a big step forward. It might take some getting used to with the PSP, but it ticks most of the right boxes, it runs better than Liberty City Stories, and rampaging is just as exciting as any other Grand Theft Auto title that came before or after.
I'm so good, I'm bang!
So, is Vice City Stories worth coming back to? Well, compared to Liberty City Stories, yes. This is actually a really fun game that motivates me to complete it 100%, because after completing all the story missions, I was still 67.9% of the way. With its 1980s Miami themes, empire building, and over-the-top action. I know I've said this a lot, but the fact that it was made for a portable console in the mid-2000s is genuinely baffling, and it makes the PlayStation Portable look like a powerful system. While Rockstar Leeds continued their work on the PSP developing The Warriors, Manhunt 2, Beta Raider, and eventually another GTA title, Chinatown Wars, also on the Nintendo DS, Rockstar North was solely focused on Grand Theft Auto 4, using the new Rage engine, marking Vice City Stories the last in the 3D universe, ending an era that defined a generation of gaming on a positive note.
And that's what I'm talking about!